Hey everybody, JCB here at the Awesomiss, and you're watching the Awesomiss YouTube channel. Welcome back to my recap of our 2020 trip to Dollywood and Six Flags over Georgia. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend you check out those videos first. Anyway, let's jump right in to video number 3 and day number 4. As I mentioned at the end of my last video, we got an Airbnb in Austell, Georgia. So as always, let's take a short tour. The living room area was nice and cozy, with a little kitchen island where the missus and I had eaten pizza the night before. The sink was a perfect size for a small kitchen, which included a dishwasher, a microwave, and a refrigerator. There was a small mudroom off the back that included some kind of a sauna. The bedroom was a little on the small side, but included 2 closets, a bouncy queen bed, and a TV. A door in the bedroom led to the bathroom, which had a bathtub with a shower, dual sinks, and a stacked washer and dryer, which came in handy later. Next to the washer and dryer was another door that leads back into the kitchen. Overall, it was a nice place to stay. That morning we woke up, we wanted some breakfast, and since we had such a bad experience at the place in Pigeon Forge, we decided to play it safe and Google the nearest Waffle House, which was a bad idea because we ended up at maybe the worst Waffle House I've ever been to in my entire life. I mean, it was literally in the same parking lot as a really seedy strip club, so I'm sure that's great for business if you want to cater to drunks at night. But in the morning, the place was pretty much dead empty. We were one of 3 tables, yet it still took an entire hour for us to have breakfast, the first 20 minutes of which was just, waiting for the waitress to even come to our table. On our way into Six Flags over Georgia, we noticed a little Doggy Hotel where you can keep your pets for the day. Magic Mountain does have a similar place, but it's not themed nearly this nice. There were also signs for COVID-19 policies posted on the perimeter fence every 40 feet or so. Some were warning of the mask mandate, others were warning that anyone experiencing symptoms would not be allowed inside the park. I should mention that Six Flags over Georgia was the second of the original Six Flags parks, which was built after Six Flags over Texas. The third and final park built by the Six Flags company themselves was Six Flags St. Louis. Since then, they have been basically just buying up independent theme parks and rebranding them as Six Flags parks to fill out the portfolio. And before we go any further, I feel like I should say that Six Flags over Georgia is a beautiful park.
We're at Six Flags over Georgia, and we're wearing our masks.
You get to see the stars on the line.
The stars have a line. We're at Six Flags over Georgia, and we're wearing our masks. What's your first impression so far, love?
It's really pretty.
Yeah. I like all the brickwork and all that stuff. Looks cool. All right, first ride.
Our first ride of the day was Twisted Cyclone. This is an RMC conversion of a wooden coaster called Georgia Cyclone, and like its big brother Twisted Colossus at Magic Mountain, it's a hybrid coaster that uses steel I-beam track on a wooden structure. Twisted Cyclone ended up being not only my wife's favorite ride of this park, but her favorite ride of this entire trip. For me, that ride was Lightning. Next, we tried to go on the Dahlonega mine train. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but it didn't work out.
So the Dahlonega mine train was not meant to be.
Have fun.
My thighs are too big.
Wear your mask. Wash
The lap bar comes down onto your lap, but I thought I just had too much stuff in my shorts pockets. So we pulled all that stuff out, but it still just would not get down low enough to click. So instead of forcing it or trying to force it, we just didn't ride it. I don't know what to do about that. I got meaty legs. I do. I used to do martial arts and gymnastics.
Then we checked out the $10 and under store. Next up was Monster Mansion. I want to start by saying I don't know how I feel about this ride. On a purely surface level, accepting the premise as presented is just a silly ride about silly monsters who are just like you and me. They're having picnics, they're cooking chili, some of them are apparently rich, and one is even the sheriff. And if that's all you see and that's as far as you think about it, it's a really fun, charming ride. But then there's this other layer, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the message of the ride's story seems to be, sure, these monsters are fun and seem to be just like you and me, but then there's the marsh, and other side of the tracks type of place where the dangerous monsters live. The lesson seems to be that no matter how nice the monsters you personally know are, not all monsters can be trusted. It seems to be warning children to stay out of certain neighborhoods where certain types of monsters live. And maybe it's just the context of being in the Deep South, just a few miles away from Atlanta, as Black Lives Matter protests were still going on in the streets. I don't know, I just got a weird vibe, you know? Like, maybe it's because I'm a film teacher, like maybe my brain has become warped to the point where I can't not see subtext and symbolism even in places where it's not there. Like, maybe as a Californian, I'm too removed from the context of history of the state of Georgia, you know? Plantations are a foreign concept to me. Maybe there's some sort of historical nuance I'm missing. Maybe I'm overly sensitive to racial issues to the point where I'm seeing them where they don't even exist. All of that is totally possible. But it's also possible that this ride is the highest pitch of dog whistles. I mean, the cannon at the end that saves the day was originally adorned with a Confederate flag. All I know is that people who were offended by Splash Mountain would have a field day with this ride. All of that said, I totally enjoyed the ride. It was fun. Like, don't get me wrong. And I think if you just sort of rationalize it as a general message about not talking to strangers, that could work. Like, that's a good message for kids to learn. Like, just don't talk to strangers. It could be dangerous, which makes perfect sense for the context of when the Monster Mansion version of this ride was first made. It was back when there were actually kids being kidnapped and murdered in Atlanta. This video got really dark really fast. Anyway, I did like the ride. It's just odd. Next up was Goliath. At first glance, I thought this ride was exactly like the one we have at Magic Mountain and the one they have at Six Flags Over Texas. But then I noticed the trains look different and the restraints look different. And then I realized everything was different. Like, the only thing that's the same is the name, the logo, and the color scheme. Everything else is different. And boy, oh boy, was it better. The Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia is so much more fun than the one at Magic Mountain. The Camelback Hills are insane. If I could trade our Goliath for this one, I would do so in a heartbeat. Next up, we decided to sit down for our annual caricature. So we have this tradition where when we go out of town for our anniversary to a theme park, we get a caricature done to kind of just represent that year of our marriage, basically.
Daredevil Dive coaster.
This ride was a lot of fun.
You love it.
I think the only other dive coaster we've ever been on was Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm, which felt kind of slow and floaty and seemed to last a whole 10 seconds. Daredevil Dive is very much a more intense and well-rounded experience. You still get the anticipation of a super steep lift hill and the super steep drop, but there's no hesitation before the fall, which was really the fun part of Hang Time. Beyond that, Daredevil Dive is really smooth and jam-packed with a lot of coaster elements that are sure to surprise and delight. I highly recommend it.
Welcome back, hope you enjoyed the ride.
At this point in our day, it started to rain on and off like every 5 minutes or so, which made it difficult to film because the camera I was using isn't waterproof and the version of Snap spectacles that I own aren't waterproof, so I don't know if I got enough footage. I know I didn't get as much as I wanted. The next ride we rode was the Georgia Scorcher. So before I talk about this ride, I gotta talk about something that happened as soon as we sat down in the train. But before I could talk about that, in order for you to understand why it was annoying to us, I gotta talk about COVID-19 policies at Six Flags Over Georgia. And this is something that my Magic Mountain fans should be made aware of, simply because if and when Magic Mountain is allowed to reopen, there's a good chance the COVID-19 policies and procedures that are put in place are gonna look a lot like the ones they have at Georgia. Currently, LA County, where Six Flags Magic Mountain is based, is in the purple tier, which is the highest and worst possible tier in the state's reopening system. The governor has said that amusement parks like Magic Mountain can only reopen once their county is in the lowest, least at-risk tier, which is unlikely to happen anytime soon. But if and when that does happen, there's a good chance that the same policies they've implemented at all their other parks are going to be implemented at Magic Mountain. So let's take a look at how Six Flags Over Georgia handles COVID-19, and we'll compare it to Dollywood since I was just there, and see, where each park succeeds and where they fall a little short, if anywhere. First up, social distancing. As you can see here, benches are all spaced at least 6 feet apart from each other, and each bench has a sticker warning people not to commingle with strangers. Additionally, every ride and store has markers on the floor spaced 6 feet apart, dictating where people should stand in line. This does make the lines look like they're longer than they actually are, but it also keeps people from breathing on you, which is nice. Additionally, both parks had every other row of the roller coaster marked off where you could not sit there to provide a little bit more social distancing while you're actually on the ride itself. And this is despite the fact that these two parks are owned by two different companies in two different states with different laws and regulations and mandates. It just really goes to show how far the amusement park industry is going to protect their guests. I don't think any of these parks want to be known as like the super spreader park. So they are doing a lot of work to try to keep everybody safe, and I do appreciate that. But I do also understand with, COVID cases going back up again, why the parks aren't open here in Southern California. People just have a hard time following rules, and I think people will get sick if they do open up right now. It sucks, but that's where we're at. I do want to say that Six Flags goes a little overboard with the temperature checks. While Dollywood uses a standard touchless thermometer to check your forehead, Six Flags has implemented these full-body thermal imaging cameras. And I feel like this is a bit of security theater because, while yes, if you have a fever, then that definitely means you're sick and you should definitely go home, not having a fever doesn't mean you're not sick. Asymptomatic people are exposing others to COVID-19 all the time. Like, you can have it and spread it around like you're Typhoid Mary without even realizing it. So these full body temperature check things are cool, but they're not really protecting anybody from anything more so than a thermometer would. Also, who in their right mind is gonna wake up with a fever and decide, I'm gonna go ride some roller coasters today? I just don't see it happening. Six Flags also has this whole Do the Six campaign. The top instruction is, of course, wear a mask. So both Dollywood and Six Flags Over Georgia had strict mask policies, and they were both fully implemented with staff people walking around making sure everyone was wearing their mask and wearing it properly, which was really, really nice because you don't want that person who's sick breathing on you. Anyway, beyond that, I do feel like Dollywood was a little more clear about when you didn't have to wear the mask. You see, they had these rest areas set aside, very much like Six Flags Over Georgia does. When you were in those rest areas, you were allowed to take your mask off as long as you were at least 6 feet away from other groups. I believe the same thing is true with Six Flags, but they didn't ever explicitly say so. I just happened to notice that the only time people didn't have their mask on, other than when they were eating, of course, is when they were sitting on those benches that were separated from everybody else. So it's probably the same policy, but it wasn't communicated as well. Also at Dollywood, they told you that if you had trouble breathing on the ride with your mask, you could take the ride off while you take the ride off. How do you do that? You can take your mask off while you're on the ride, and that'll help you breathe, presumably. They didn't mention that at all at Six Flags Over Georgia, so again, I don't know if that's actually the policy at that park. Other notable Do the Six items are wash your hands and sanitize often. So both parks had brand new standalone hand washing stations throughout the entire park, which was nice. They also had fully stocked bathrooms, so it's easy to wash your hands in the restroom as well, which was also really, really nice. I think the only place that the two parks really diverged in the way they handled things was when it came to hand sanitizer. Six Flags was sort of on the honor system with that one. They had dispensers at the entrance of the ride's queue as well as at the exit, and believe me, we used it every single time. But that meant you had to go through the entire line touching handrails and stuff that were potentially dirty and had germs on them, and then you could touch your face, and then you're touching the ride, which also does things, and there was nobody at the start of the line telling people they had to use the hand sanitizer, so there was no way to make sure that those handrails and stuff were clean. It just seemed like a bad idea. They should have had somebody forcing people to put hand sanitizer on before they could enter the line, which is what they did at Dollywood. No such system existed at Six Flags Over Georgia. They basically just had the hand sanitizer mounted right next to the entrance to the line, and people would walk right by it, either not seeing it or not caring, which is not good when you're trying to prevent everybody from getting sick. But I did use the hand sanitizer as much as I possibly could just to make sure I wasn't spreading germs around to people, because even if I wasn't sick, maybe I touched something with germs and then touched something else and that would spread it. So I just wanted to be very careful and considerate towards everybody else, because I respect other people and other people should respect each other. And that's just, what being an American is about, I think. Just my own point of view. Don't mean to get all political on you, but don't be a dick. Anyway, that said, I did like Dollywood's hand sanitizer better. It was a gel, which makes it more manageable. whereas Six Flags is a liquid, so when you squirt it out, it like squirts everywhere. Also, the one at Dollywood smelled like lemons, which was nice, while the one at Six Flags Over Georgia smelled like tequila, which I personally don't like. Anyway, back to Georgia Scorcher. Both parks have policies in place where it's one party per row on the roller coasters. So your entire party can sit together and fill the row if you want, because you're all from the same household, so you're all already sharing in each other's germs. But you don't want someone who's outside of your pod, your little group of people, to sit in your row with you, because you could potentially get them sick, they could potentially get you sick. It's just a bad idea. So anyway, my wife and I are in the front row of the Georgia Scorcher, just waiting for the ride to start, when the guy who was in line behind us decides that he's gonna go on this train as well, jumps across the hood of the roller coaster, runs back like 3 rows and tries to sit next to some girls back there. And the ride attendant's like, whoa, 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 no, you can't do that. You're not part of their group, so you can't sit with them. You're a single rider, you have to have your own row. So then, instead of getting in an empty row, he runs back to the front of the train, Dukes of Hazzard it across the front of the hood of the train again, and then sits down next to my wife in the front row with her. And again, the ride attendant sees him do this, so she's like, no, you can't do that. You're a single rider, you have to ride in your own row, you can't sit with them. And his reply is, I'll get you next time. Which apparently is just like the magic words to get away with whatever, because her response was, you ain't getting nobody back next time. And just let him ride. She just let him ride. Which I feel like he would not have gotten away with at Magic Mountain, because not only is he breaking COVID policies, which puts the park at risk, but he was breaking just normal roller coaster safety regulations. Like, there are so many rules about when you can and cannot cross the tracks. The park employees have like an entire system in place where they do like this, and they say crossing, and the park employee has to step across the seats. They're not allowed to jump across the hood like they're a redneck in an old 70s sitcom. It's a whole thing. And so he's breaking COVID policies, breaking park safety regulations. Bad idea all the way around, but to let him go on the ride still, very odd, really annoying. Anyway, as for Georgia Scorcher, I wasn't super impressed. It gave me Green Lantern vibes, and it's not nearly as big or intense as Green Lantern, so it's just kind of okay. Next up was Jamboree, which was a log flume ride. Kinda small, mostly calm, but still a lot of fun. We got a bit wet at the end, but by that point we had been rained on so many times that it did not matter. Next, we were going to go on the Joker's Funhouse coaster, but it was closed for the entire day. So instead, we decided to head towards Superman's Ultimate Flight, and we passed right by the Justice League Battle for Metropolis.
The Hall of Justice Battle for Metropolis is closed.
Superman's Ultimate Flight is a B&M steel flying coaster similar to Tatsu at Magic Mountain. One defining feature of this ride is its pretzel loop. It was the first coaster in the world to feature one. Just like Tatsu, Superman's Ultimate Flight really does give you the sensation of flying through the sky like you're strapped to a jetpack. It was a lot of fun, and if you visit this park, definitely ride Superman's Ultimate Flight. Unfortunately, that was the last fun ride we rode for the entire day. Riddler's Mindbender has been closed for like the entire year, so we knew we weren't going to get on that, but all that was left was the American Scream Machine and Blue Hawk. The American Scream Machine is aptly named, though you're not screaming in fear so much as in pain. This Woody is so rough it feels like it's being shaken inside of a broken washing machine. One drop in particular caused my lower back to shift forward while it forced my shoulders back, resulting in a ton of pain. You can actually hear my reaction right here. My poor wife, who was well endowed in the chest region, had an even more uncomfortable experience. And forget trying to brace yourself, that only makes things worse. Then of course at the end is perhaps the longest, most painful break run I've ever experienced. Let me know what you guys think of American Scream Machine versus other rough coasters. I feel like it was one of the worst I've ever ridden. Anyway, the funniest moment happened at the end when we pulled back into the station. We were about to get off the train. A lady saw my wife was like holding her breasts in pain. And so the lady like started laughing. I don't know if she was laughing because like she knew what the ride does to people, or if she was like nervously laughing because she's next. After that, we went on Blue Hawk, which is a Vekoma steel coaster. And that's basically enough of a description for those of you in the know to understand exactly how rough this ride is and how I feel about it. Next, I sent my wife back to the Dahlonega Mine Ride to see if she could ride it alone with my snap spectacles to get footage, since her thighs are thinner than mine. I did a lot of martial arts and gymnastics as a kid, and I got really beefy thighs. After watching the footage, I don't feel like I missed out on very much. My wife said that even her legs were borderline too big for the ride, and because of that she was in a lot of pain the entire time. So give a thumbs up or subscribe to show your appreciation for her sacrifice. These images are only possible because of her. By the way, this tunnel part is the whole reason I wanted to go on this thing. It looks like it's way longer and more impressive on the map than it actually is.
Okay, we are calling it a day at Six Flags over Georgia. We've been on just about everything we wanted to go on. I couldn't go on the mine ride because my legs are too big. The Joker ride was closed today, as was the Roaring Rapids type of ride. So, other than that though, we went on everything we wanted to. What do you think of Six Flags over Georgia, babe?
It's fun. It was fun. Fun.
Very pretty. Very well kept park.
Yeah.
Very friendly employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
And with that said, we said goodbye to Six Flags over Georgia. Having been on every ride we really cared about, we decided not to come back the next day, even though we technically could have. In the end, the choice came down to either going back to Six Flags the next day and redoing stuff we'd already done, and then having to race to the airport in order to make our flight on time, or we could play it safe, sleep in a bit, head straight to Knoxville early, find something fun to do closer to the airport. Needless to say, we chose the latter. That night, we decided to go to dinner at Longhorn Steakhouse that has a managing partner named Christopher Bartow who decided to put his name on things. It's kind of weird. Why you put your name on things, Chris? Funny story though, he actually just opened another Longhorn Steakhouse in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is like an hour from where I live. So if this pandemic's ever over, I might take my wife there because the steak was pretty good. Like, I'm gonna be honest, Chris, the steak's pretty good. After that, we went back to our Airbnb, did all of our laundry, then went to bed and woke up bright and late to head into town to get some breakfast. On the way into town, we drove through a covered bridge, which was really cool.
I wanted to, oh my God, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
It's history. We're going through history, babe.
Going to breakfast at J. Christopher's. Never been here before. Hopefully we get some good breakfast for once.
We decided to check out this place called J. Christopher's that had a high rating. The inside was really nice, but again, the breakfast food was lacking. What is it with biscuits and gravy in Georgia and Tennessee? Why is it separate? Why? What is this? Nobody's answered me about this weird regional thing where they serve the biscuits and gravy separate from each other. Just pour it on. Who's eating dry biscuits? What is this? Anyway, we drove like the 4 hours back to Knoxville with pretty much no interruptions, no issues at all. It was a really nice, pleasant drive, to be honest. And while we were on our way there, I just started Googling fun things to do in Knoxville, and most of those things were closed because of COVID-19. But one thing that wasn't closed was the IAMS Nature Center. The IAMS Nature Center is absolutely beautiful. We just kind of wandered around and got lost in the forest for a few hours. It was really nice.
This is our 5th year anniversary. Did you enjoy it?
The 5 years? What, is it over?
Admit the trip.
Yeah.
Yes. Yay!
Yay.
Adventure accomplished.
We decided to take the Tower Trail, and I gotta say, it's absolutely gorgeous. There were rustic bridges, natural stairs that seemed to go on forever, and even stepping stones made out of tree stump rounds. Eventually we came upon this meadow that would be a perfect place for a wedding, or at the very least engagement photos. When we were walking across this boardwalk, we came upon a snake that was just sunbathing by the water, and we didn't want to bother him. We weren't sure if he was poisonous. We just kind of backtracked and went the other way.
And just so you guys know, if you take that path, there's a snake on the dock, okay? Yeah. So don't go that way. So it's getting late in the afternoon. We're gonna head out of IM's nature preserve place. Put the real name down on the screen if I had that wrong, which I probably did. Because we need to get back to the airport to return our rental car by 6 o'clock. So we are gonna leave here, get some food, get some gas in the truck, return that, and then go all the way back to Las Vegas via airplane. It's been a nice time here in the South. It's been pretty. It's just been pretty. It's been pretty. Lots of pretty stuff going on. We just almost died by a snake. Maybe. We don't know if it was poisonous. We weren't gonna take any chances. And yeah, it's been a great time. Nature Center. IM's Nature Center.
We decided to stop at the same Waffle House we had eaten at that first morning, and then we put some gas in the monster truck and returned to the rental car place at the airport. We got to our terminal and it was just as dead as the last time we were there a few days prior. I decided to wander around a little bit, getting shots of the mostly empty airport to really preserve what this COVID time period was like for future reference.
That's what I call social distancing.
We got on our plane for a mostly uneventful flight back to Las Vegas, where our parents were picking us back up, and they surprised us by getting us a hotel room on the 30th floor of the New York Hotel, which was really, really nice of them.
This thing cleaned it for you.
A video game.
Yeah. Nice looking shower.
Oh my god, so much better.
Is it?
Oh my god, so much better.
Whole room looks better.
Babe.
Yes.
Oh my god, so much better. Lay down.
I might not be able to get back up.
Well, you might want to try. Smash me.
Oh yes, that's way better.
Sorry if I spit on you.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, we have a view.
Do we?
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Look it. We have a view. Dang. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
The fuck?
We decided to get some Shake Shack for dinner since it was the only thing open that late. And then we watched National Lampoon's European Vacation on TV until we were too tired to stay awake any longer and went to bed. And that was basically our entire trip to Dollywood and Six Flags over Georgia. Let's do some grades, shall we? Let's start with Dollywood, which gets an A+. Followed up by the Dreammore Hotel, which gets a B+, mainly because the bed is just so uncomfortable. Next up is Sawyer's Farmhouse Restaurant, which gets a D. Then our Airbnb in Austell, which got an A. The Waffle House in Knoxville gets a B+, while the Waffle House in Austell gets a D-. J. Christopher's gets a B. It was good, it was weird. Six Flags Over Georgia gets an A+. Longhorn Steakhouse gets an A. Their managing partner, Chris Bartow, gets a confused look. Why are you putting your name on things? The New York Hotel gets an A+. Shake Shack gets an A. And the 2019 Dodge Power Wagon 4x4 pickup truck with a complimentary pack of tiny itty-bitty condoms gets an F-. What a cumbersome, terrible vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you liked my thoughts on Dollywood and Six Flags Over Georgia, let me know down below. And until next time, keep being awesome.
Actually, oh my god, babe. This mattress is so much softer than our bed.
He said in my dream.
That's weird.
Are you just saying it because I told you
You
about
didn't
it?
tell me. You just...
You got out of the bed, you got into the bed, and you told me it's so much softer, we should have slept here.
You just told me that in your dream